yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yes,
I don't want to reveal too much.
No.
Just all the nuggets.
Yeah, I hope so.
As you call them in your book, juicy, gory details at one point.
Yeah.
But well, let's see. Let's hone in on one aspect or one book.
Yeah.
A Green Journey.
Yes.
Because there's a pretty good, I think, bit of information in there that people who may have seen the TV movie starring Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
Tell us about that part about John not wanting to see the movie.
Well, he had written, of course, Staggerford first with Agatha McGee, and she was a minor character then, and she was Miss McGee, and then she becomes Agatha, since she was the main character in A Green Journey, and then it was sold to TV, and Angela Lansbury, as you said, had taken the role.
She was the lead.
But then John wanted to write more about Agatha, and he didn't want to see Angela Lansbury and have Angela Lansbury be his Agatha. He wanted it to be his own Agatha. So then he had written Dear James since then, without seeing it. And then finally Gretchen, his wife, said she really liked it very much.
She had
so
seen
she had seen it. And about 8 years later, he saw it and he was moved to tears, he said.
8 years later.
And then Agatha came back in the Staggerford Flood and A New Woman. That aren't included, those two interviews aren't included in our book.
That's right, yeah. Can you run through the list of the books, the 9 books that are part of the conversations?
I can't do it in order. No, I should by now. So Staggerford, Simon's Night, The Love's Hunter, A Green Journey, Grand Opening, North of Hope, Dear James, Rookery Blues, and The Dean's List. Yes. And that's the order. We tried to do the interviews in the order that they were written, like Staggerford first, but what happened, the Dean's List is the last interview, but that was our first interview that we had done, the last interview in the book, because we were hoping to get it published. It was coming out in paperback, the Dean's List was, around 97, 98. And so we were trying to get that ready for that, and it didn't work out, so that was the first one. And then Grand Opening is all the sequence too. That was performed at Plainview at the Jon Hassler Theater, and that seemed to be really an ideal stepping off point to ask John about Grand Opening and the play. Yes.
Right. Yeah, because you shopped this around to like
6 or 7
publishers.
Yes, about 6 or 7 years. Each one took about a year, and before they said no. And I kept being told that book of interviews don't sell. So we'll see. Well, like you said, you have that distinction of being, it's pretty rare that one author is interviewed about several books, rather than just one of his books. And then you have conversations with other writers, but they have different people doing the interviews. They may have 5 or 6 or 7, but different interviewers. And this is the same interviewer.
You have a niche going here.
Well, I hope.
That's good. Let's see, what else did I want to know? I wanted to know about the movie that hasn't come to be, but
The Love Hunter?
would make a good movie.
The Love Hunter,
yes. Tell us a little about where that stands.
Well, that was exciting at the time. Robert Redford bought the rights to it, and then shortly after he bought it, Paul Newman read the rave review in the New York Times, and he wanted to buy it. And then there was gossip that it was going to be, both of them, National Enquirer said that both Redford and Newman were going to be in it. And then screenplays had been written, and instead of having it in Rookery, which is where Love Hunter takes place, which is based loosely on Bemidji, that the screenplay writer, Scott Spencer, who's a known novelist, had changed it to Minneapolis, and instead of Rookery Playhouse, it's going to be the Guthrie Theater. And then it was going to be the Jesse James days in Northfield. So that's where most of it took place. The actual hunting, which is the main thing of the story, got, I think, about 10 minutes, John said. I didn't read the screenplay, but John was very, very disappointed.
It was going to be altered immensely.
Very much. And the sad thing is that they spent so much money on the screenplays, and of course they bought it from John, that it's in the dead novel cemetery now because it costs so much to buy the rights now, so it'll never be made into a movie. Which is really sad. That's a very filmic one. It would have been ideal. It would have been really perfect. I had asked Jon in the book one time I was visiting him and quiz show that the movie that Robert Redford directed, and I asked Jon, should we go to it? And he said, no, he boycotts Redford films, and it's because of the Love Hunter and not having it be viable as a movie now.
Yeah, left a little bad taste, but Jon's wit comes through so greatly in your, with your conversations too. How you'll ask him a very detailed question, and you'll explain. Basically, I think sometimes you answer the question because
too much. Yes.
Jon just kind of, you could just see him kind of sitting there, and he just says, "Yeah, that's right, Joe. I hadn't realized that. I haven't thought about that. But yeah, that's true."
As it goes on, my questions become longer, and his answers get shorter. I had time to work on them usually.
I wanted to ask you, Joe. I think I ran across it, but I want to just kind of verify. Which of his books did you like? What's your favorite?
I think North of Hope. It really touched the depths and the lower depths that he hadn't before, I think, quite that way. But also I liked Simon's Night very much, and Grand Opening, and Dear James. And of course, one has to mention Staggerford. I mean, that's his classic, and that really holds up well.
Yeah, and Staggerford is, isn't it used in, I mean, teachers are...
They had been. I don't know if it still is, but it has been for years, yes. And that's very good.
Okay.
But no other movie interest. He's had some movie interest during the years, but not any concrete.
Okay. Well, now you're, in the months coming here, as the book is getting around to the bookstores like Book World here and Barnes & Noble and our own CLC bookstore.
Yes.
How are you promoting? Well, what are you doing for
doing book signings, one at Central Lakes College, of course, and there'll be one in Park Rapids, which is where Jon had taught for 3 years. And then there's going to be at the Garrison Keillor bookstore in St. Paul in July, then a reading and a signing. And I just found out a couple of days ago that my publisher has talked to Barnes & Noble in the lower Minneapolis, downtown Minneapolis, and at the Galleria also. So that'll be in the fall.
Okay.
So it's very exciting. And of course, Crosby Public Library and Brainerd Public Library.
Yeah. Well, I've heard some early reports, and I mean, we're talking about this book only being out, as we're talking here, only just a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And it's selling pretty well.
I hope so.
As it should.
Good.
So it's
for
nice
Jon's sake, especially.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks so much for coming here and talking with us, and for everything you've done for the college and for your good friend Jon, and congratulations.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Okay.